Some days it feels like the only thing we can agree on is that we can't agree on anything. Public discourse is broken. And we feel that everywhere. Panelists on TV are screaming at each other. We go online to find community and connection, and we end up leaving feeling angry and alienated. In everyday life, probably because everyone else is yelling, we are so scared to get into an argument that we're willing not to engage at all. Contempt has replaced conversation. My mission in life is to help us disagree productively, to find ways to bring truth to light, to bring new ideas to life. I hope that there is a model for structured disagreement that's kinder, mutually respectful, and assumes a genuine desire to persuade and be persuaded.
The human voice. It's the instrument we all play. It's the most powerful sound in the world, probably. It's the only one that can start a war or say, I love you. And yet many people have the experience that when they speak, people don't listen to them. Why is that? How can we speak powerfully to make change in the world? What I'd like to suggest, there are a number of habits that we need to move away from. I've assembled for your pleasure here 7 deadly sins of speaking. I'm not pretending this is an exhaustive list, but these 7, I think, are pretty large. Habits that we can all fall into. First, gossip. Speaking ill of somebody who's not present. Not a nice habit, and we know perfectly well the person gossiping 5 minutes later will be gossiping about us. Second, judging. We know people who are like this in conversation, and it's very hard to listen to somebody if you know that you're being judged and found wanting at the same time. Third, negativity. You can fall into this. My mother, in the last years of her life, became very, very negative, and it's hard to listen. I remember one day I said to her, it's October the 1st today, and she said, I know, isn't it dreadful?
Let's consider two types of mistake that can occur when a manager actually starts to set up a duplicate system to replicate a successful process, and starts trying to improve on it. Another mistake is trying to use the best parts of various different systems, in the hope of creating the perfect combination. Unfortunately, attempts like these usually turn out to be misguided and lead to problems. Why? Well, for various reasons. Perhaps there weren't really any advantages after all, because the information wasn't accurate. Or perhaps the business settings weren't really comparable. More typically, the advantages are real enough, but there are also disadvantages that have been overlooked. For example, the modifications might compromise safety in some way. So, what's the solution? Well, I don't intend to suggest that it's easy to get things right the second time. It's not. But the underlying problem has more to do with attitudes than the actual difficulty of the task, and there are ways of getting it right. These involve adjusting attitudes. First of all, being more realistic and cautious really.
Hello, Professor Steve. Would you elaborate how economic growth is location-specific?
Thank you, Alan. Today I would like to talk about relationship between natural resources and economic development of the country. The world's also been defined by the basic fact that the location of these vital minerals and energy deposits is highly variable around the world. You're looking here at a map depicting the coal deposits in the world. Lots of coal in North America, in Russia, China, India, Australia, South Africa. But look at the rest of Africa, almost devoid of coal, almost impossible for Africa to industrialize in the 19th century until very recently. A lot of South America with very limited coal deposits. In the next picture, you're looking at oil reserves, where they're located. Of course, the Middle East is the center of about 70 of the proven reserves of oil around the world. Again, much of Africa, devoid of oil. Again, another great limitation to Africa's economic development until recently. The United States, blessed with oil just as it was blessed with coal, blessed with almost everything. A continent of vast mineral resources. The next map shows you where natural gas is produced. Again, in parts of Russia, the former Soviet Union, the Middle East, the United States, of course. Sad, again, for Africa, not many major natural gas producers. Well, a short history really requires days, months to discuss this core subject of how mineral resources and energy resources transformed the world time and again and shaped geopolitics. Where there's been oil, coal, and gas, there's been a competition that's intense.
The fortune of becoming a fortune teller is a dream for everyone. You get the privilege of looking into the future of others. In some places, they are called psychics. People come to a fortune teller to resolve their problems. The forecast made by a fortune teller may not be exactly true. Fortune tellers are not respected in some places. But, in some places, they are respected a lot. Many get married only after asking the fortune teller. Fortune teller take this work as a divine work. Even many entrepreneurs start the business after consulting a fortune teller. Fortune tellers use different methods to tell fortune. Some use numerology, some use astrology, some use cards, and some use crystals to gaze into the future of others.
The raging debate whether employees should be involved in the decision-making process or not is not new. In today's age of startup, productive employees are assets for any company. Often, the management of startups and technology companies involves their employees in the decision-making process. The ultimate aim of any company is to satisfy her customers profitably through their highly motivated and productive employees. A company should involve their employees in the decision-making process. From management's perspective, involvement of employees in decision-making process enables management to get right feedback from the ground level, and tune the policy accordingly. Involving employees into decision-making process builds trust among management and employees, produces synergy in operation, and reduces friction among management and employees. The company should restrict this exercise at an operational level where employees are direct stakeholders. The company should never involve employees into certain policy level, strategy level, financial or confidential matter where employees do not have any expertise or any stake. Involvement of employees in decision-making process enables and empowers employees to perform better, to improve productivity, to serve customer excellently, and to improve the bottom line of the company. Involvement of employees in decision-making process gives the company a leading edge in the market and creates a win-win situation for both employers and employees.
Certainly in Europe and the West, we tend to think of bread as the staple food in our diet, as many proverbs and sayings such as, "Bread is the staff of life," attest. Yet for the majority of the world's population, the most important staple food is not wheat, but rice, which is the seed of a different type of grass. The earliest evidence we have of rice being cultivated dates back to 8,000 years ago, when rice grains of that period were discovered in a village in China. By around 6,000 years ago, the cultivation of both long-grain and short-grain rice had become well established in China and had just got going in India. The word rice itself, however, is derived from the Aramaic orutza and came to us by way of Greek and Arabic. In fact, it was the Arabs who introduced rice to their Spanish territories in the 7th century, but it didn't spread to the rest of Europe until much later when, in the 15th century, Spaniards began to cultivate their own short-grain variety at Pisa in Italy.
Technological change has had a profound effect on the way music is made and how it sounds, as well as on the way we listen to it. New technologies, and I mean this in the broadest sense, not just electronic devices, can alter the sound of music and, in the case of electronic recording systems, affect the economics and distribution of music. For example, the innovation of the valve trumpet in the 19th century changed the sound of the orchestra. Now, everyone has easy access to a wide variety of music, but it is arguable whether this has increased our understanding of it. Before radio and recorded music, those who could afford it would have pianos or pianolas, mechanical pianos that played a role of sheet music, so the basic ability to read notes off a page was more widespread. However, these days, regardless of whether or not we are musical experts, there is no doubt that music enhances life, and with the internet, sites to download music from, file sharing and so on, we have access to more music than ever before, and a lot of it for free.
For the uninitiated, the premises of formal debate are really straightforward. There's a big idea on the table that we support civil disobedience, that we favor free trade, and one group of people who speaks in favor of that idea and one against. My first debate in the cavernous auditorium of Canberra Girls Grammar School was kind of a bundle of all of the worst mistakes that you see on cable news. It felt easier to me to attack the person making the argument rather than the substance of the idea themselves. When that same person challenged my ideas, it felt terrible. I felt humiliated and ashamed. And it felt to me like the sophisticated response to that was to be as extreme as possible. And despite this very shaky entry into the world of debate, I loved it. I saw the possibility, and over many years worked really hard at it, became really skilled at the technical craft of debate. I went on to win the World Schools Debating Championships 3 times. I know, like, you're just finding out that this is a thing.
So what do they stand for? See if you can guess. The H, honesty, of course. Being true in what you say, being straight and clear. The A is authenticity, just being yourself. A friend of mine described it as standing in your own truth, which I think is a lovely way to put it. The I is integrity, being your word, actually doing what you say, and being somebody people can trust. And the L is love. I don't mean romantic love, but I do mean wishing people well. For 2 reasons. First of all, I think absolute honesty may not be what we want. I mean, my goodness, you look ugly this morning. Perhaps that's not necessary. Tempered with love, of course, honesty is a great thing. But also, if you're really wishing somebody well, it's very hard to judge them at the same time. I'm not even sure you can do those 2 things simultaneously. So hail.
And once we're inside this shared reality, debate also requires that we separate ideas from the identity of the person discussing them. So in formal debate, nothing is a topic unless it is controversial, that we should raise the voting age, outlaw gambling. But the debaters don't choose their sides. So that's why it makes no sense to do what 10-year-old Julia did. Attacking the identity of the person making the argument is irrelevant because they didn't choose it. Your only winning strategy is to engage with the best, clearest, least personal version of the idea.
Actually, let me show you how to do that. Would you all like to stand up for a moment? I'm going to show you the 6 vocal warm-up exercises that I do before every talk I ever do. Anytime you're going to talk to anybody important, do these. First, arms up, deep breath in, and sigh out, like that. One more time. Very good. Now we're going to warm up our lips, and we're going to go bo, 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 bo. Very good. And now, just like when you were a kid. Now your lips should be coming alive. We're going to do the tongue next with exaggerated la, 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 la. Beautiful. You're getting really good at this. And then roll an R. That's like champagne for the tongue. Finally, and if I can only do one, the pros call this the siren. It's really good. It starts with we and goes to or. The we is high, the or is low. So you go wee, or wee.
My mission in life is to help us disagree productively, to find ways to bring truth to light, to bring new ideas to life. I hope that there is a model for structured disagreement that's kinda mutually
Also, we have repetitive prosody now coming in, where every sentence ends as if it were a question, when it's actually not a question, it's a statement. And if you repeat that one over and over, it's actually restricting your ability to communicate through prosody, which I think is a shame. So let's try and break that habit. Pace. I can get very, very excited by saying something really, really quickly, or I can slow right down to emphasize. And at the end of that, of course, is our old friend, silence. There's nothing wrong with a bit of silence in a talk, is there? We don't have to fill it with ums and ahs. It can be very and don't take responsibility for their actions.
you could convince someone of your point of view,
I'm not talking about the stuff that falls from the sky and hits you on the head.